we will pick up today on Quotations from Chairman Mao Tse-Tung. We'll pick up where we left off. But first, here is my shout out. My shout out is Carvana. I don't usually do corporate shout outs, but I had a car that we weren't using, so I checked out their website and they made an offer that was wonderful, better than the competitors. And since I really don't like dealing with car salesmen or mattress companies, I decided that I would give Carvana a try. They lived up to their word just as they advertised. All I had to do was within a few minutes, filled out the information on the website, took the car to the place, which is walking distance to my house, and handed the keys, signed a couple documents. They gave me a check, and that was it. It was over. And from there, I walked to DMV and handed in the license plates and went to the bank and deposited the check. The check cleared right away. And I have to say, I was walking on air as I took care of this task. So that's Carvana. They were wonderful. And then this is my product placement, is working hands. This time of year, my hands get so dry, and I don't even work with my hand. I mean, I'm an artist, so I guess I work with my hands, but I don't dig ditches or anything, but my hands will get so rough and split, and then they start to bleed, and it's really gross. So this, I just bought it. I've used it for a couple of days. I don't know how well it's going to do, but so far so good. And the benefit is there's absolutely no fragrance. That I love. I hate it when the fragrance is too strong. So that's it for that. We will just get started right away on this very fascinating book. And as I said before, the reason I chose to read this for everyone is that I hope that you can reconsider your choice to use or not use TikTok and other Chinese products. That is, if you only knew what this says, you might have a different opinion. So we will just get started. We are up to chapter 24, and the chapter is called Ideological Self-Cultivation. Even if we achieve gigantic success in our work, there is no reason whatsoever to feel conceited and arrogant. Modesty helps one to go forward, whereas conceit makes one lag behind. The truth is, we must always bear in mind. With victory, certain moods may grow within the party: arrogance, the airs of self-styled hero, inertia and unwillingness to make progress, love of pleasure and distaste for continued hard living. With victory, the people will be grateful to us, and with the bourgeoisie will come forward to flatter us. It has been proved that the enemy cannot conquer us by force of arms. However, the flattery of the bourgeoisie may conquer the weak-willed in our ranks. There may be some communists who were not conquered by enemies with guns and were worthy of the name of heroes for standing up to these enemies, but who cannot withstand sugar-coated bullets. They will be defeated by sugar-coated bullets. We must guard against such a situation. Many things may become baggage, may become encumbrances if we cling to them blindly and uncritically. Let us take some illustrations. Having made mistakes, you may feel that, come what may, you are saddled with them and so become dispirited. If you have not made mistakes, you may feel that you are free from error and so become conceited. Lack of achievement in work may breed pessimism and depression, while achievement may breed pride and arrogance. A comrade with a short record of struggle may shirk responsibility on this account, while a veteran may become opinionated because of his long record of struggle. Worker and peasant comrades, because of pride in their class origin, may look down upon intellectuals, while intellectuals, because they have a certain amount of knowledge, may look down upon worker and peasant comrades. Any specialized skill may be capitalized on and so may lead to arrogance and contempt of others. Even one's age may become ground for conceit. The young, because they are bright and capable, may look down upon the old, and the old, because they are rich and experienced, may look down upon the young. All such things become encumbrances or baggage if there is no critical awareness. Some comrades in the army have become arrogant and high-handed in their behaviors towards soldiers, the people, the government, and the party, always blaming the comrades doing local work, but never themselves, always seeing their own achievements, but never their own shortcomings, and always welcoming flattery, but never criticism. The Army must endeavor to eradicate these faults. Hard work is like a load placed before us, challenging us to shoulder it. Some loads are light, some heavy. Some people prefer the light to the heavy. They pick the light and shove the heavy on the others. That is not a good attitude, but some comrades are different. They leave ease and comfort to others and take the heavy loads themselves. They are the first to bear hardships, the last to enjoy comforts. They are good comrades. We should all learn from their communist spirit. There are not a few people who are irresponsible in their work, preferring the light to the heavy, shoving the heavy loads onto others and choosing the easy ones for themselves. At every turn, they think of themselves before others. When they make some small contribution, they smell with pride and brag about for fear that others will not know. They feel no warmth toward comrades and the people, but are cold, indifferent, and apathetic. In fact, some people are not communist, or at least cannot be counted as true communists. Those who assert this kind of independence are usually wedded to the doctrine of me first and are generally wrong on the question of the relationship between the individual and the party. Although in words they profess respect for the party, in practice they put themselves first and the party second. Comrade Liu Shou-shi once said of certain people that they have unusually long arms and are very clever in looking after their own interests, but pay little heed to the interest of others and the party as a whole. What's mine, and what's yours is mine too. What are these people after? They are after fame and position and want to be in the limelight. Whenever they are put in charge of a branch of work, they assert their independence. But this aim, they draw some people in, push others out, and resort to boasting, flattery, and touting among the comrades, thus importing the vulgar style that the bourgeois political parties and the Communist Party. It is their dishonesty that causes them to come to grief. I believe we should do things honestly, for without an honest attitude, it is absolutely impossible to accomplish anything in this world. They, communists, must grasp the principle of subordinating the needs of the part to the needs of the whole. And if a proposal appears feasible for a partial situation, but not for the situation as a whole, then the part must give way to the whole. Conversely, if the proposal is not feasible for the part, but is feasible in light of the situation as a whole, again, the part must give way to the whole. This is what is meant by considering the situation as a whole. Pleasure-seeking in the Red Army, there are also quite a few people whose individualism finds expression in pleasure-seeking. They always hope that their unit will march into big cities. They want to go there, not to work, but to enjoy themselves. The last thing they want is to work in the red areas where life is hard. We must oppose the tendency towards selfish departmentalism by which the interests of one's own unit are looked after to the exclusion of those of others. Whoever is indifferent to the difficulties of others refuses to transfer caters to the other units on request, or releases only the inferior ones, using the neighbor's field as an outlet for his overflow, and does not give the slightest consideration to other departments, localities, or people. Such a person is a selfish departmentalist who has entirely lost the spirit of communism. Lack of consideration for the whole and complete indifference to other departments, localities, and people are characteristics of selfish departmentalists. We must intensify our efforts to educate such persons and to make them understand that selfish departmentalism is sectarian tendency, which will become very dangerous if allowed to develop. Liberalism manifested itself in various ways. to let things slide for the sake of peace and friendship when a person has clearly gone wrong, and refrain from principled argument because he is an old acquaintance, a fellow townsman, a schoolmate, a close friend, a loved one, an old colleague, or old subordinate, or to touch on the matter lightly instead of going into it thoroughly so as to keep a good terms. The result is that both the organization and the individual are harmed. This is one type of liberalism, to indulge in irresponsible criticism in private instead of actively putting forward one's suggestions to the organization, to say nothing to people to their faces, but to gossip behind their backs, or to say nothing at a meeting, but to gossip afterwards, to show no regard for all the principle of collective life, but to follow one's own inclination. This is the second type, to let things drift if they do not affect one personally, to say as little as possible while knowing perfectly well what is wrong, to be worldly wise and play safe and seek only to avoid blame. This is the third type. Not to obey orders, but to give pride of place to one's own opinions, to demand special consideration from the organization, but to reject its discipline. This is a fourth type. To indulge in personal attacks, pick quarrels, vent personal spite, or seek revenge instead of entering into an argument and struggling against incorrect views for the sake of unity or progress or getting the work done properly. This is the fifth type. To hear incorrect views without rebutting them, and even to hear counter-revolutionary remarks without reporting them, but instead to take them calmly as if nothing had happened. This is a sixth type. To be among the masses and fail to conduct propaganda and agitation, or speak at meetings, or conduct investigations and inquiries among them, and instead to be indifferent to them and show no concern for their well-being, forgetting that one is a communist and behaving as if one were an ordinary non-communist. This is the seventh type. To see someone harming the interest of the masses and not yet feel indignant or dissuade or stop him or reason with him, but to allow him to continue, this is an eighth type. To work half-heartedly, without a definite plan or direction, to work perfunctorily and muddle along, so long as one remains a monk, one goes on tolling the bell. This is the ninth type. To regard oneself as having rendered great service to the revolution, to pride oneself on being a veteran, to disdain minor assignments while being quite unequal to major tasks, to be slipshod in work or slack in study. This is a 10th type. To beware of one's own mistakes and yet no attempt to correct them, taking a liberal attitude toward oneself. This is an 11th type. Liberalism is extremely harmful in a revolutionary collective. It is corrosive, which eats away unity and undermines cohesion, causes apathy and creates dissension. It robs the revolutionary ranks of compact organization, and strict discipline prevents policies from being carried through and alienates the party organizations from the masses which the party leads. It is an extremely bad tendency. People who are liberals look upon the principles of Marxism as abstract dogma. They approve of Marxism but are not prepared to practice it or to practice it in full. They are not prepared to replace their liberalism by Marxism. These people have their Marxism, but they have their liberalism as well. They talk Marxism but practice liberalism. They apply Marxism to others but liberalism to themselves. They keep both kinds of goods in stock and find use for each. This is how the minds of certain people work. The people's state protects the people. Only when the people of such a state can they educate and remold themselves by democratic methods on countrywide scale, with everyone taking part and shaking off the influence of domestic and foreign reactionaries, which is still very strong, will survive for a long time and cannot be quickly destroyed, rid themselves of the bad habits and ideas acquired in the old society, not allow themselves to be led astray by the reactionaries, and continue to advance towards socialist and communist society. It is not hard for one to do a bit of good. What is hard to do good all one's life and never do anything bad, to act consistently in the interest of the broad masses, the young people in the revolution, and to engage in arduous struggle for decades on end. That is the hardest thing of all. Okay, now we are up to chapter 25. Chapter 25 is titled Unity. The unification of our country, the unity of our people, and the unity of our various nationalities, these are basic guarantees of sure triumph of our cause. It is only through the unity of the Communist Party that the unity of the whole class and the whole nation can be achieved. And it is only through the unity of the whole class and the whole nation that the enemy can be defeated and the national and democratic revolution accomplished. We shall solidly unite all the forces of our party on democratic centralist principles, on organization and discipline. We shall unite with any comrade if he abides by the party's program, constitution, and decisions. The democratic method of resolving contradictions among the people was epitomized in 1942 in the formula unity, criticism, unity. To elaborate, it means starting from the desire for unity, resolving contradictions through criticism or struggle, and arriving at a new unity on a new basis. In our experience, this is correct method of resolving contradictions among the people. Our army has achieved remarkable unity in its own ranks and with those outside its ranks. Internally, there is unity between officers and men, between the higher and lower ranks, and between military work, political work, and rear service work. And externally, there is unity between the army and the people, between the army and the government, organizations, and between our army and the friendly armies. It is imperative to overcome anything that impairs this unity. Okay, now we are up to chapter 26, and we are reading quotations from Chairman Mao Tse-Tung. And the title of chapter 26 is called Discipline. Within the ranks of the people, democracy is correlative with centralism and freedom with discipline. There are two opposites of a single entity, contradictory as well as united, and we should not one-sidedly emphasize one to the denial of the other. Within the ranks of the people, we cannot do without freedom, nor can we do without discipline. We cannot do without democracy, nor can we do without centralism. This unity of democracy and centralism, of freedom and discipline, constitutes our democratic centralism. Under this system, the people enjoy extensive democracy and freedom, but at the same time, they have kept within the bounds of socialist discipline. We must affirm anew the discipline of the party, namely, the individual is subordinate to the organization. The minority is subordinate to the majority. The lower level is subordinate to the higher, and the entire membership is subordinate to the Central Committee. Whoever violates these articles of discipline disrupts party unity. One requirement of party discipline is that the minority should submit to the majority. And the view of the minority has been rejected, it must support the decision passed by the majority. If necessary, it can bring up the matter of reconsideration at the next meeting. But apart from that, it must not act against the decision in any way. The three main rules of discipline are as follows. 1. Obey orders in all your actions. 2. Do not take a single needle or a piece of thread from the masses. 3. Turn in everything captured. The 8 points for attention are as follows. 1. Speak politely. 2. Pay fairly for what you buy. 3. Return everything you borrow. 4. Pay for anything you damage. 5. Do not hit or swear at people. 6. Do not damage crops. 7. Do not take liberties with women. 8. Do not ill-treat captives. They, all officers and soldiers of our army, must heighten their sense of discipline and resolutely carry out orders, carry out our policy, carry out the three main rules of discipline, and the 8 points for attention. With army and people united, army and government united, officers and soldiers united, and the whole army united, and permit no breach of discipline. So now we are up to chapter 27, and chapter 27 is called Criticism and Self-Criticism. The Communist Party does not fear criticism because we are Marxists. The truth is on our side, and the basic masses, the workers and peasants, are on our side. Thoroughgoing materialists are fearless. We hope that all our fellow fighters will courageously shoulder their responsibilities and overcome all difficulties, fearing no setbacks or gibes, or hesitating to criticize us communists and give us their suggestions. He who is not afraid of death by 1,000 cuts dares to unhorse the emperor. This is the indomitable spirit needed in our struggle to build socialism and communism. We have the Marxist-Leninist weapon of criticism and self-criticism. We can rid of bad style and keep the good. Conscientious practice of self-criticism is still another hallmark discussing our party from all other political parties. As we say, dust will accumulate if a room is not cleaned regularly. Our faces will get dirty if they are not washed regularly. Our comrades' minds and our party's work may also collect dust and also need sweeping and washing. The proverb, running water is never stale and a door hinge is never worm-eaten, means that constant motion prevents the inroads of germs and other organisms. To check up regularly on our work and in the process develop a democratic style of work, to fear neither criticism nor self-criticism, and to apply such good popular Chinese maxims as say all you know and say it without reserve, blame not the speaker but be warned by his words, and correct mistakes if you have committed them and guard against them if you have not. This is the only effective way to prevent all kinds of political dust and germs from contaminating the minds of our comrades and the body of our party. Opposition and struggle between ideas of different kinds constantly occur within the party. This is a reflection within the party of contradictions between classes, between the new and the old in society. If there were no contradictions in the party and no ideological struggles to resolve them, the party's life would come to an end. We stand for active ideological struggle because it is the weapon for ensuring unity within the party and fight, and the revolutionary organization in our interest of our fight. Every communist and revolutionary should take up this weapon. But liberalism rejects ideological struggle and stands for unprincipled peace, thus giving rise to a decadent Philistine attitude and bringing about political degradation in certain units and individuals in the party and the revolutionary organizations. In opposing subjectivism, sectarianism, and stereotype party writing, we must have in mind two purposes. First, learn from past mistakes to avoid future ones. And second, cure the sickness, save the patient. The mistakes of the past must be exposed without sparing anyone's sensibility. It is necessary to analyze and criticize what was bad in the past with a scientific attitude so that work in the future will be done more carefully and done better. This is what is meant by learn from past mistakes to avoid future ones. But our aim is exposing errors and criticizing shortcomings, like that of a doctor curing a sickness, is solely to save the patient and not to doctor him to death. A person with appendicitis is saved when the surgeon removes his appendix, so long as this person who has made mistakes does not hide his sickness for fear of treatment or persist in his mistakes until he is beyond cure. So long as he honestly and sincerely wishes to be cured and to mend his ways, we should welcome him and cure his sickness so that he can become a good comrade. We can never succeed if we just let ourselves go and lash out at him. In treating an ideological or political malady, one must never be rough and rash, but must adopt the approach of curing the sickness to save the patient, which is the only correct and effective method. Another point that should be mentioned in connection with inter-party criticism is that some comrades ignore the major issues and confine their attention to major points when they make their criticism. They do not understand that the main task of criticism is to point out political and organizational mistakes. As to personal shortcomings, unless they are related to political and organizational mistakes, there is no need to be overcritical, or the comrades concerned will be at a loss as to what to do. Moreover, once such criticism develops, there is a greater danger that within the party attention will be concentrated exclusively on minor faults, and everyone will become timid and overcautious and forget the party's political tasks. In inter-party criticism, guard against subjectivism, arbitrariness, and vulgarizations of criticism. Statements should be based on facts, and criticism should stress the political side. Inter-party criticism is a weapon for strengthening the party organization and increasing its fighting capacity. In the party organization of the Red Army, however, criticism is not always of this character and sometimes turns into personal attack. As a result, it damages the party organization as well as individuals. This is a manifestation of petty bourgeois individualism. The method of correction is to help party members understand that the purpose of criticism is to increase the party's fighting capacity in order to achieve victory in the class struggle, and that it should not be used as a means of personal attack. If we have shortcomings, we are not afraid to have them pointed out and criticized because we serve the people. Anyone, no matter who, may point out our shortcomings if he is right. We will correct them if what he proposes will benefit the people. We will act upon it. As we Chinese communists who base all our actions on the highest interest of the broadest masses of the Chinese people, and who fully are convinced of the justice of our cause, never balk at any personal sacrifice, and are ready at all times to give our lives for the cause, can we be reluctant to discard any idea, viewpoint, opinion, or method which is not suited to the needs of the people? Can we be willing to allow political dust and germs to dirty our clean faces and eat into our healthy organisms? Countless revolutionary martyrs have laid down their lives in interest of the people, and our hearts are filled with pain as we, the living, think of them. Can there be any personal interest then that we would not sacrifice, or any error that we would not discard? We must not become complacent over any success. We should check our complacency and constantly criticize our shortcomings, just as we should wash our faces or sweep the floor every day to remove the dirt and keep them clean. As for criticism, do it in good time. Don't get into the habit of criticizing only after the event. Taught by mistakes and setbacks, we have become wiser and handle our affairs better. It is hard for any political party or person to avoid mistakes, but we should make as few as possible. Once a mistake is made, we should correct it, and the more quickly and thoroughly, the better. Okay, so we will stop there for today. We are up to chapter 28. We are reading Quotations from Chairman Mao Tse-Tung. And I wanted to read this for myself, but also I thought it would be great to share with you all, because perhaps we should reconsider our choice to use TikTok or other Chinese products. Of course, I've said before, a lot of times we don't have a choice. When we go to the store to buy something, we don't always have a choice. Everything's made in China now, all the manufacturing. But we can take steps to remedy that. It starts with how you vote and who you vote for, and to try to pick people that have the same mindset that we need to bring our manufacturing back to the United States and to our friendly allies. So that's that. I could go on forever with this criticism, but let's, it is a fascinating book, and let's consider what we do with our purchasing power. Our dollars do say a lot. But here is my shout out. My shout out is Carvana. We had a car that we weren't using, and it's just sitting there decaying and sitting out there. And I looked up on different websites, Carvana and Carvana's main competitor. Carvana gave me a very good offer, and I took it there yesterday and handed it in, and it was as easy as that. The offer they gave me online was what the check amount was for. There was no getting there and them bait and switching me and talking me down to a lower. It was what it was. I handed them the keys, signed a couple of forms, gave them the title, the keys, and they gave me a check. And then I went over to DMV and handed in the license plates and the bank to deposit the check. And the check is already cleared, and it was as easy as that. It was so wonderful. And I feel so free from that obligation to a material possession that wasn't necessary. And this is my product placement, Working Hands by O'Keeffe's. This time of year, my hands just get so dry and it gets split and it bleeds and it's painful. And I get a rash, and I just said, well, let me try this. I saw the commercial and I said, I'll give it a try. And it worked. So far, so good. I've only been using it for a couple of days, and a couple of the spots have already started to clear up. I was using chapstick or lip balm, where the spots that split around my fingers, the hangnails. But I'm going through tube after tube of lip balm, and I said, let me try something. Lip balm really wasn't designed for my hands, but I got this. So far, so good. If it doesn't work out, I will let you know. And it has absolutely no fragrance whatsoever, 0 fragrance. And that's another bonus, because I don't want things to have too strong of a fragrance. That'll make me itchy. It'll compete with the fragrance that I wear. And that is that. And that is my world. All is well in my universe, at least. I'm so happy to see you. You make my world complete. I'm so glad that you chose to spend some time with me today. That was the right choice. And I hope the weather is improving for you. Today we're supposed to have a little better weather where I live. That would be okay. I like the winter weather. You can't be cold enough for me. Bring it, bring it. The more snow, the better. And I'm going to go out and play in it a little bit longer while it's here, because spring will be here before you know it. We're already thinking about Lent, and that's the church season, not the stuff that's stuck to the bottom of my socks. Anyway, I want you to have a great day. Please leave me some information in the comments and in the chat, because I want to visit your channel too, and I want to watch your videos, because I'm very fascinated with what you're up to and what your world is all about. So please do that for me, and give you a kiss, and just keep me posted. Have a great day, my friends. Have a wonderful day.